We are continuing to monitor this fire. In fact, we have a brand new update from fire officials right now for you. We have team coverage this morning. In just a few minutes, Trisha Hendricks will join us from one of those evacuation shelters. It just opened up overnight for some of those residents. But first, we're heading out to our anchor, Allison Rodriguez, who is live near the Diamond Fire. Allison, what can you see? And you also just learned some new information.
That's right. I just spoke with Scottsdale fire officials, and they tell me crews have been working all night to try and get ahead of this one. We're going to get an update on that progress in just a little bit. But what I've learned is their focus really has been trying to put out those hot spots. That's what they've been looking out for all night. And as you mentioned, the sun has come up on the second day of this firefight. And while there are no huge plumes of smoke like we saw yesterday when this fire was at its peak, I want to step out so you can see some of those hazy conditions, what crews are dealing with this morning. Now, I do want to show you what crews were up against Tuesday when those winds were really whipping up. There was flames, that smoke coming from this Diamond fire in a neighborhood in North Scottsdale. We know that more than 200 fire personnel on the ground trying to get a hold of this one. This is a multi-agency effort here trying to stop it. There's so much dry brush out here, and that really added fuel to this one and helped it spread quickly along with those winds, of course. AZ State Land officials telling us forward progress has not been stopped as of last night. That's what they were working on. And so far, this fire has burned more than 2,500 acres. We also know more than 1,100 people were forced to leave their homes. And sadly, this is something that some residents here are dealing with for a second time. Coming up for you at 6:30, we're going to hear from those residents who say, sadly, this is deja vu. But as we bring you out here live, I want to tell you about a warning coming from fire officials as well. They say yesterday they had multiple reports of drones flying through this area, and they want to remind you there are temporary flight restrictions through here. If you are flying a drone, they say, remember, they can't. We saw those images of the tankers coming from overhead. All of that would be grounded if there are drones in the area. So they say, please remember to keep them grounded right now. I am going to be speaking live with Scottsdale fire officials coming up in just moments. But in the meantime, I do want to send things over to our Trisha Hendricks, who's continuing our team coverage this morning at that evacuation center where families have been sent. And Trisha, we've been talking about that this morning. More than 1,100 people forced out of their homes this morning. I'm sure just grateful that they have this resource there for them.
Good morning once again, Allison. Yes, if you need a water bottle, a place to stay, temporarily to regroup, kind of gain some ground here and process your thoughts, this is a great starting point. This is the American Red Cross Arizona team's effort to really get the word out here at Cactus Shadows High School in Cave Creek. So if you or someone you know is directly impacted by the Diamond Fire, maybe they've been evacuated, maybe they're on standby, this is a great thing to take note of here, and you can get help too. Due to the wind, the Diamond Fire spread into those grassy areas full of vegetation so quickly, and because it got dangerously close to so many homes, that forced the evacuation of more than 1,100 people, all in the northeast Scottsdale area. Now, the fire has now grown to, like you mentioned, 2,500 acres, sitting at 0% containment. A lot of people who are evacuated, especially those with horses and other animals, livestock, of course, on edge at this hour. But Mike Clark with McDonald's Ranch is offering a word of comfort, while some neighbors are just trying to stay optimistic.
You know, our animals are fine. This is what we do. It's not just rescue, but we deal with horses 24/7.
I'm just hoping and praying that everybody's house will be safe, and I feel bad for the animals.
So far, the Rio Verde, Tonto Verde, and Fountain Hills areas are not within the evacuation zone so far. But of course, keep in mind that could change at a moment's notice, depending on which way the fire moves from here, which way the wind shifts, right? McDowell Mountain Regional Park is also closed as a result of the fire. If you have livestock, animals in need of shelter, we also have a resource for you there. An animal evacuation shelter has been set up at the Cave Creek Rodeo Ground. So, of course, this is a very difficult situation. But if you are one of the more than 1,100 people evacuated due to the Diamond Fire right now, or you know someone that's on standby to evacuate, definitely head over here to Cactus Shadows High School. We also have information information on our website, 12news.com, with more information on emergency preparedness kits, things that you need to keep in mind. And the most important, of course, people, pets, paperwork, prescriptions, all of those vital things that you want to make sure that you can grab and go at a moment's notice. Live in Cave Creek, Trisha Hendricks, 12 News, Today in AZ. Now we're going to toss it over to Allison Rodriguez once again, joining us closer to the fire line. Allison?
Yeah, Trisha, thank you. I'm here joined now this morning by Scottsdale Fire Captain Dave Folio, who's here live with us to tell us a little bit more about this firefight. I mean, this thing ballooned so quickly yesterday. When did you know this has to be an all-hands-on-deck situation?
Immediately. Yeah, the call came in at about 4:34 in the afternoon and had smoke columns showing. The men and women of the Scottsdale Fire Department and the overall automatic aid system, Phoenix, Daisy Mountain, Glendale, Tempe, everybody, all hands on deck. We quickly went to a second alarm on this, which brought over 200 firefighters. About last night at midnight, we've turned this fire over to, it's out of Scottsdale now. We've turned it over to the AC Forestry and State Management. They're in command of it now. They've got over 200 firefighters still on scene here because, as we know, this morning the winds will shift and the heat's going to pick back up. So this thing is going to fire back up. We're at about 2,500 acres right now. We still have over 1,000 people probably evacuated. 5802 East Dove Valley, Cactus Shadows High School. We've got people there. And we've also taken in some livestock into Westworld that we're assisting with. So this fire is not out by any means. We have a zero containment as of right now. We're going to give an update at 8 o'clock with AZ State Forestry. But the men and women of the Scottsdale Fire Department, we have 3 brush trucks up cruising the areas looking for this type of incident. We were able to get on it quickly and start bumping it around homes. So that helped us out a lot. They worked their tails off. I'm telling you, even when I was coming up to the scene, and the plume that we had over the mountain was massive, and a lot of fire. And then the winds were changing on us too. So we try to work in the black, so not put our firefighters out in front of the fire. That's really important. But yeah, this thing's not over by any means. We just want to remind people we've had a wet winter, right? So when you're out here, the fuels are up to your hip. You're walking it. It's super thick.
Yeah,
so
we see that around here
yeah,
even.
No fireworks this year. Let's limit our construction companies cutting steel. Let's stop that. I know the last 5 I've been on, that was, they were small but started that way. So just trying to get the message out. We're in the season, right? And we don't want to have another one of these. We're going to be out here for a long time working on this one with the State Fire Forestry.
Yeah, Captain, you mentioned here construction. I've noticed that this morning there are a lot of crews coming through this area. You also mentioned the fireworks. Do we have any indication right now that if this perhaps sparked from one of those construction sites?
We don't. Yeah, it's under investigation, and we ran into dark last night. We were really worried about not losing any structure. So our crews will come out this morning. The small amount of area that construction you're seeing is just a small community behind me that opened back up. So the evacuation order is still in place, and we'll find out more at 8 o'clock with AZ Forestry.
Quickly, before I let you go, I do want to talk about that firefight today. Obviously, right now, we don't see those huge plumes like we saw yesterday. It was a little bit cooler overnight. That had to have helped. However, what are you really going to be focusing on today? Because you said those winds, it could pose a bit of a hindrance for you.
So our crews are going to be back out making sure all the hot spots in Scottsdale are put out. And then they're getting overhead right now to get pictures of the overall fire. And what helped us out yesterday was the 5 aircraft that immediately were on scene. It takes a little bit of time to get that going because you got to get somebody on the ground that does air control and runs all that. We were a unified command with the automatic aid system with AZ State Forestry. Tano responded immediately. They had a crew up north. All hands on deck, like you said, and it's going to be all hands on deck today just to make sure this thing doesn't fire back up with the winds and the heat that's going to come.
And we know it's coming. Scottsdale Fire Captain Dave Folio, thank you so much for being with us live this morning on 12 News Today in AZ. And as the captain just mentioned, how much help it was to have those tankers overhead. So remember, a good reminder about those drones. You have to keep them grounded. Do not send them up. We want to make sure and give them as much help as they can, as we can, as they have been working all night, very little to no sleep, to try and get ahead of this one and save as many structures as they can. As the captain mentioned as well, we're going to be getting a briefing for you at 8 o'clock this morning as far as the damage is concerned. We'll be bringing that to you live online at 12news.com. And of course, we're going to be bringing you the very latest, what we learn about evacuations as well, as we continue this morning on 12 News Today in AZ. But in the meantime, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio now as we continue to gather more information on this diamond fire burning right now